The immediate call is to be present in our own lives and to really connect with the people that are around us, that love and support us, who we have with us, who supports and loves us, how we talk to ourselves. These are the things that allow us to handle whatever comes. So part of our practice is really to learn how to choose where we look and for how long. Even grief shifts and changes form and becomes part of what shapes us and allows us to move forward in a new way. I want to have joy. I want to find beauty. When I know what I want to feel and when I know how I want to be, then how it comes to me doesn't really matter, because what will come to me is what I'm looking for.
Welcome to America Lost and Found. My name is Jannel Rapp. My sister Gina Boss disappeared on October 17th, 2000. In the 25 years since she vanished, her disappearance taught me that I did not have to miss out on my own life because I miss her. Though America Lost and Found has its inspirational roots in stories of missing persons, the grief their families face, their lessons, and their triumphs, this show is not just about missing people. If we are breathing, we face loss, but it doesn't have to define us. We feature guests who have learned to use loss instead of having loss use them. Our guests share tools that help them navigate their loss. Some will resonate with you, some may not. Our hope is that as you watch, like, and subscribe, you will not only gain tools for life, but you will be inspired to turn your loss into beautiful. Today's guest is the senior minister at the Claremont Center for Spiritual Living in Southern California. Her community focused on using practical spiritual tools to improve everyday life for themselves and others. We have the power within us to create a better world, starting right where we are. Please welcome Reverend Tracy Earlywine.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to be back.
It's nice to have you back.
Thank you.
On Next Level Soul, Alex always says to people who are returning, welcome to the returning champion. Well, I'm not going to steal.
do this.
Yes, I'm not going to steal his thunder, but
thank you.
It's so cute when he does that. But every time he has a returning guest, he does that.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Well, we should celebrate, right?
We should.
Yeah. Whatever we can.
Whatever we can. I think that's a good way to start.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of turmoil in the world. There's a lot of infighting, separation, divide, confusion, anxiety, depression. There is so much going on.
Yes.
And I want to talk about how we navigate that, how we can get through this time period in our lives. It is our life.
Yes, it is our life.
It is our life.
Mm-hmm.
And life always brings with it opportunities. So what is our opportunity here to navigate, grow, to make things better? I know that's a lot. That's a mouthful, and that's a tall order.
Many minds have contemplated these things. But I think you're right. I think that right now that free-floating anxiety, that it's not just the unknown, it's also what is known that is scaring people, bottom line, that's causing us to grieve what used to be or what we want it to be or how it's not anymore, or it's a lot. It's a lot. And I know that for me, I can feel a heaviness that I don't normally carry. You know, I do my spiritual practice, so I think, okay, I'm good to go. And then the world happens, and I'm thinking, wow, what do we do now? And I think the key point here is that we continue to take the small steps right where we are, because it's always, always, always the small steps that bring us to great change. And that helps me stay grounded in whoever's in front of me right now, who's asking a question now, who wants to talk, who needs to grieve, who needs my help, how can I be of service. It's what's right here, right now, where we have our power. And so while I feel we are called to participate and engage with society, the immediate call is to be present in our own lives and to really connect with the people that are around us that love and support us, because that's how we get through anything. And so, there are things we can do, and we have to breathe. We have to be okay with the fact that we're not going to figure this all out right now. We're not all going to have a solution that just breaks through and everything is, rainbows and kittens once again. I mean, I believe there will be rainbows and kittens. There are still rainbows and kittens right in this moment. But if we stick with this living from the heart and connecting with the people that we're next to and choosing to be present, we will find the steps that will give us energy, that will give us hope, that will support us, so that we're not all about the noise that's outside. Truth is, there's always been noise outside. It just seems a lot more intense right now. And it is a lot more intense right now. And there's always been joy in life, and that's still true. So part of our practice is to learn how to choose where we look and for how long.
Choose where we look and for how long.
It's balance.
So, what does that look like?
So, listening to the news 5 hours a day might be too long. Not because what's being reported is or isn't true or isn't what you want to hear, but because it's only one window into life, and all of life is still happening. So if I'm going to listen to the news, I'm also going to talk to my 2-year-old niece. I'm going to call up a friend. I'm going to have lunch with family. I'm going to do something that is also true. And that's the way that I stay nourished. That's the way that I keep from being fatigued. You can't run a marathon if you don't have some water along the way, right? So we just need to keep sipping all along the way.
So look for the also true.
Yes.
I like that. The finding the balance, that it's not just the one thing. There's all this other going on.
Right. And the flip side is true. It doesn't help us to say everything is fine if it's really not. Or that, well, there's love in the world and I'm all about love and that's all there is. It's like, yes, and that's not all that's happening. So we have a spiritual dimension to us that knows that, in fact, love is the power of life. And we also have a very human experience, and we're not meant to have one or the other. We're meant to do both, which means I have to bring that spiritual sense of self into the world. Right? We all know people who shine their light. We all know people who everybody feels better being around. We all know folks that you can just tell are grounded and centered and comforting or loving or joyful, whatever it is that soothes you. There are people there that are just like that. And that comes from them knowing the power they have within themselves and choosing to show up that way in the world. So we're all choosing how we show up in the world. And we have a lot of tools at our disposal. We have a lot of opportunities to be our best selves in difficult situations. I think about the angst of being a teenager and how everything is, world-shattering. Everything. And so we get a little older and we look back and think, well, that wasn't such a big deal. But the truth is, it was a very big deal at the time. It was as big as it needs to be. And oh, by the way, it doesn't matter if your big deal is bigger or smaller than someone else's big deal. What matters is that you realize for yourself that you came through whatever happened and you are better for it. You've learned something, you're stronger, you have a better sense of self, you know what's important to you. These are all the things that carry us forward when times get hard.
Right. Right. It's interesting to me, at least maybe I'm the only one that thinks this way. I don't know. But I feel like I'm always going through something. There's always some kind of transition. There's never any time where I'm like, woo, I'm good. I have my moments where I can really focus on joy and beauty and all that. I'm not saying I'm always heavy and depressed, but, I sit in a crowd of people and I think, I have this thing I got to work on. But I don't always think about everyone has a thing they're working on.
Everybody has something, yes.
I mean, I think, unless I'm the weirdo.
No. Well, you are, but no, not for that reason.
That's true. Good point. You know me well enough to know I'm a weirdo.
And thank goodness for weirdos. We do all always have something going on, and I think what makes the difference is to not think that we have to get someplace where then we feel good. That we have to, when I get this done, when this project's complete, when I finish my degree, when I. The truth is, we are always going to have something. I think what makes the difference is how well we know ourselves so that we live from a place of trust, that we live from a place of knowing our own heart, meaning what's important to us, what's valuable to us, what fills us up, who we are here to be, giving our talents and our love to the world. Knowing who we are so that no matter what is happening, we are still moving smoothly. It's not about what's out there in the world. What's out there in the world can, two people can experience the exact same situation, and one will float through it and move on to the next thing, and the other one will be stopped and in therapy for 20 years.
That's true.
Right? So it's not the circumstance that makes the difference. It's our own structure that makes the difference. And the more we know ourselves and the more we know our own heart, the easier it is to keep ourselves in balance, to have a sense that, wow, this is hard, and my next step is, and you keep walking. You just keep walking without feeling like you're failing or you're slow, or you're not ever going to get there, or everybody else has it better than I do. It's not true. It's not true. We all have our thing. How we move through things, with things, who we have with us, who supports and loves us, how we talk to ourselves. These are the things that allow us to handle whatever comes. Because something will always come. We're in the world.
That's right.
We just don't need to be buried by it, which is hard to do sometimes.
Yes, it is. So when it is hard, when it's heavy, when there's a lot of information coming in that is difficult to digest, how do we get our eyes on something else? How do we get our heart, our feelings on something else?
I think there's a couple components to that. The first one is to know what makes you feel good, whether it's being in nature, it's listening to music, it's being creative, it's making the house smell like spaghetti sauce, whatever it is that brings you to a sense of self and peace, to know what those things are and to build that into your life. So if a walk in nature is the best thing you can do for yourself, it's what you would choose to do if you had a free weekend. What would you choose to do? I might go to a bookstore. Someone else would hit the trail. Someone else would go, traveling, hiking, whatever it is. Know that about yourself and actually build that into your schedule, because you can't not have time to fill back up. You have to fill back up. We all know that we do not do well with other people if we are hungry or tired or hungry.
Did you say tired?
Tired. We're all feeling a bit tired these days, and that's understandable, but to understand that too, that if we take care of ourselves physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, we will be able to meet and greet whatever comes to us. The other thing I think that is critical to us managing difficult times is to find someone to talk to. Find someone to talk to. I had a, let's just say they know my name at Starbucks. So I have a barista or two that know me. And we were chatting about this one morning, and it was, she was so distressed and just so, I don't know what to do with this, and I have a brand new baby, and this is so overwhelming, and just being able to say that, to get to a place where then she said, you know, I do think we need to talk about this stuff. A lot of my friends don't want to talk about it. But the truth is, if you talk about it, sometimes we forget just that expression is actually pressing out that energy rather than holding it in and feeling tense and tired and exhausted. Mm-hmm. It's actually a release. And so to have people we can speak with that can listen gives us a place to put that energy, gives us room to catch our breath. And by the same token, when I talk to my friends about what's bothering me or what's hard for me, oftentimes they're going to ask me a question, and it's going to help me to get more clear about, well, what is it about this that really bothers me? Or why do I feel so upset? Or what am I supposed to do with this anger, this fear, this whatever it is, anxiety? I get not only ideas from them, but their questions help me to know what's important to me. Because if I know that compassion is important to me, and I already know it's part of who I am, it reminds me that I can bring compassion to this situation, whatever the difficulty is. If my friend says, well, didn't you tell me that you were reading such and such a book and you found a bunch of stuff in there that just really resonated? It's like, right, I have resources. I have to remind myself I have resources. You know, I can't keep walking down the muddy trail if I have mud in my face. I gotta pause. Everybody's gotta take a pause. And the deal is, you do it with your friends, or you do it in the way that feeds your soul, which is your creativity or your peaceful place or your best song, whatever it is.
That's so important to be able to process it in some way.
Yes.
Because that's how we get it out.
Yes.
Now, that brings me to the next step of that can happen with that. Let's say we're processing it with people, I won't, it doesn't matter, with a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When is too much, where it becomes that's your story. My story is my forlorn this and da. So when do we cross the line so that we actually make it worse for ourselves instead of process and get it out?
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that every time we tell the story, our body relives it. So your imagination is very powerful, and you really don't know, your mind doesn't know the difference between what you're imagining and what you're actually doing. They've done scientific studies that say people who imagine exercising can have very similar, if not the better benefits than those who actually do the exercise. Now, personally, I don't have that power of concentration, or I would be thinner than I am. But the idea that when we tell the story, especially if we're caught in any kind of victim mentality where this happened to me or somebody did this to me or the world is against me in some way, you have to tell the story at some point because you've got to be able to clarify it for yourself. And you want a listening ear that can ask you those questions to help you understand better or to maybe give you a different perspective through the questioning. But to repeat the story is to relive. So I think if you say there's a line, I think what shifts that makes it more positive is our ability to not tell the story in terms of the sequence of events or how difficult it was, but to tell the story with an understanding of who I am now that's different. Because of this, I have more empathy for someone going through the same thing. Because of what happened to me, I parent my children differently than I was parented. Right? So we learn from whatever is shaping us, and if we can focus on where I am now because of what brought me here, then I'm talking about moving forward. So the big family dust up that, everybody's still talking about 20 years later, Uncle so-and-so did that and Aunt Mabel did this, and the family's never been the same since. Well, except it's probably different now because the kids are older. Oh, yeah, the people who argued, they're older too. And I talked to Uncle so-and-so last week, and, he's pretty mellow compared to how we change. Everything changes us. So for me, the way not to get stuck in the story, not to belabor the story, is to tell it so that I can understand it differently than what it felt like at the time.
So even the present stories, when we're telling our friend and processing, we tell it not from a place of being a victim,
right.
but I'm trying to get through this. I'm trying to learn from this. I'm trying to maneuver this.
Right. I want to understand why, for example, I want to understand why I'm so upset so that I can do something different. I don't want to feel upset. I don't want to be angry. I don't want to be afraid all the time. So if I can talk it through and gain some understanding, or have someone say to me that they see it a little differently, and that helps me open up or relax a little bit. Somebody encourages me by saying, we've been in worse places and we've come through them, so we will come through this as well. I need to be reminded of that. And I don't always have it for myself in the moment. None of us do. So even with what's happening now, to be able to trust that there's a way forward, to understand that within me, I have already gotten to this point in my life, I expect to continue growing and becoming and expanding in the remainder of my life, even now. To trust that, to really
even
trust
now,
that. Yes.
in all of this.
Yeah. It's easy for me to see it in you. I know you're going to come through this, right? I know you're going to, write a song about something, and it's going to get easier and lighter. You're going to get love and support, and that's going to give you the energy and the fuel to keep going. I know this about you, even in the days when you're sitting there thinking, I cannot write another word, right?
Right.
I mean, we know it for each other. That's one of the reasons we need to connect.
Right.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true. So that brings me to another layer of this, and that is there are people that have no one to talk to. They don't know who they would talk to, and they feel like they're exploding inside.
Yeah.
And sometimes we might be standing next to them in the grocery store line, and they start telling us things that you don't even know me, and you're telling me about that, about your child, or about this, like really personal things.
Yeah.
Listen, this is a time to listen, I think.
Yes.
Do you feel that?
Yes.
Like, people need to be heard.
Yeah.
And listening seems to be the best gift we can give right now.
I agree. I have a really good poem about listening.
Really?
Yes.
We have a thing.
We have a thing.
We have a thing.
So John Roedel is one of my favorite poets. He's all over Facebook, but he has books too. And he started out as a comic and started putting up his little 10-line poems on Facebook, and it all blew up. He's just does amazing things. And what I like about him is that he's always talking about this dialogue we have between our head and our heart and the world. And so this little one, he called it breathing, and he says, I inhale your story, I exhale compassion. I inhale your words, I exhale understanding. I inhale your suffering, I exhale gentleness. Empathy is the deliberate act of breathing for someone else who can't find their own air. And we are all in a place now where at one point or another we are gasping for air. And I would say to someone who thinks they don't have anyone to talk to start with someone's writing that resonates for you, to start with a book, to start with a piece of music, to tell somebody anonymously what's going on. I've had those conversations like on an airplane. You end up hearing somebody's life story. And sometimes it's, it's small talk, and a lot of times it's heartfelt because we need to be heard. And there is some safety in that anonymity that, if I don't know you and we're talking about personal things, there's no baggage there. There's no preconceived ideas, and I may never see you again. So whatever I tell you or do, it's probably pretty safe. The connection is what makes the difference. And so our ability to pause and take a breath when somebody wants to tell us something, our ability to listen when someone is saying it in a way that we wouldn't normally communicate. In other words, if somebody is yelling, it's really hard for me to listen to the words, to the content. But you know what? Sometimes that's where they are, right? And if I can let them yell it out and still hear what's being said or what the heart really wants to hear, or get an idea of where the pain is coming from, then I can respond to the unsaid message rather than the blast, rather than the delivery method. And that takes practice. It takes practice. I have to know that I'm safe even if you're yelling. Right? I have to know there's room for big feelings in the world. There's room for big feelings right here where I am. And if I have something that it feels overwhelming to me, I can reach out. And if I'm not good at reaching out, then when I'm not in trauma, I make a list of who the possible people are that I could reach out to, or the online counseling hotline, or there are ways to connect with a person, even if it's an author on the written page, or even if it's the notes from their instruments. All of that soothes, all of that replenishes, all of that reminds us that we're alive in a way that is positive in addition to whatever else is going on.
That's good. It's a lot of tools right there in that little bit.
Yeah.
I think, like we were talking about earlier, when you're in the throes of it, you can't think for yourself, almost like you can't separate yourself from it.
No.
You can't. Yeah. This is happening to me, and it's.
Yeah.
I feel like default comes to mind.
Oh, yeah.
When we have a lot of stuff going on at once, we default to some place, usually in childhood. Mm-hmm. And then it's like this whole thread of storyline that comes with it. See, I've had this never goes away. Yes, and then you end up in this big ball.
You fall back into the abyss again.
Yeah. But it comes back to practice and getting back on track as best we can with the lessons that we've learned along the way.
Right.
I don't know why we have these defaults. I have a feeling it's our ego and all of that, but I have a feeling there's a way out of the default. But you have to know that, I went back to default. You have to tell yourself that enough to go, I don't want to go to default anymore.
Right.
I don't want that old story.
Right.
I want to change my default to joy or peace or beauty, whatever we choose, but we have to know that that's our trigger. Yes. I just got triggered back to my default.
I think one clue to that is if your reaction is out of proportion to what's happening right now. Somebody says something to you that hurts your feelings, and you go into the nobody loves me, everybody hates me.
Right.
Which is left over from being 4 years old and whatever happened then, right? I don't know that the default reaction ever completely goes away. It's in our neurological system. But what we practice is the pause. You feel it come up. You're ready to lash out or ready to run and hide or whatever your mechanism is. And you pause and you choose a different response. And the more you practice pausing and choosing your response, the less likely you are to act out whatever that ancient reaction is. So it's still there. It still tells you that You know, I've worked really hard to heal myself in a lot of ways, and there's still some unhealed parts of me. And I'm able to take care of myself differently. I'm able to remove myself from a situation without picking a fight. I'm able to not lash out in anger, but to really state clearly what I need right now in this moment. I'm able to articulate what's going on with me, whether I do it internally or whether I speak it out loud. But it takes the pause to shift the behavior, because the behavior is automatic, right? The reaction is automatic.
Yeah, it just
you're right.
slips right in.
Yeah, you can turn the volume way down so it's not your first thing out of your mouth, but it takes practice to say, oh, here it is again. That's not my mother over there, and she's not picking on me. This is what's happening right now. Okay, so I'm going to say this instead of that.
Right.
But it does take knowing yourself. And you know, there are professionals out there that would be happy to listen, and then there are communities out there that are already helping people get through whatever the difficulty is. You know, there are groups for addiction, support groups for addiction recovery. There are groups for suicide prevention. There are groups that talk about self-worth and self-esteem. And they don't, you know, the obstacles we think we have, well, they cost money. I can't afford it. I don't have any time. Phooey. That's a spiritual term, phooey. You know, it's about understanding that a little bit of support gives you the tools to support yourself, that it's a temporary help. Your friends may come and go. They may move away. They may die, and you're left without them. But all along the way, you've been building up your own inner support system. I really think that doing a spiritual practice that puts you in touch with that part of you that you know is more loving than you're able to see in the world. Like, I don't see a lot of love in the world every day, especially depending on which channel I'm watching, right? I don't see a lot of love. But there is a part of me that knows that love is possible, that love is bigger than I am, that I can't get away from love. It's just part of the energy of who I am. And if I can tap into that on a regular basis, through prayer, through meditation, through conversation, through a service, through a podcast, through literature or music, whatever it takes for me to tap into the way that feels, I'm going to bring that feeling with me into whatever I do. And when we talk about engaging with the world from a spiritual perspective, we're talking about bringing that sense of love with you, that sense of joy with you, to bring the light into the room, not to always be looking for it somewhere else, or waiting for someone else, or thinking you're not good enough to fill in the blank. It's another phooey.
It kind of reminds me of, you know, when you go to a party, you bring something.
Yeah.
So don't show up empty-handed.
Mm-hmm.
Show up with your brand of joy, your brand of peace, your brand of love, your brand of compliments, whatever it might be, and be ready to hand it out.
Yeah.
Share.
Yeah, and to not think that you have to be the one on the front lines, or that you have to be the one speaking to thousands of people. Understand that that conversation you have with your friend when she's having a bad day, and you are able to listen, and even if you can't, you can't fix it, whatever it is, but you can let her know you're here, and you can listen, and you can give her a hug when you leave. That all adds up, because the alternative is to react only with the anger or the anxiety or the fear. And what does that do but contribute to that energy that we live in? I want to contribute on the side of positivity. Not Pollyanna. I'm not saying there's not suffering in the world. I can see that with my own, I can feel that myself. But I also know that love heals, and that listening helps, and that the beautiful things of the world and the beautiful people of the world are still available all the time. That the worst moment is not the only moment. And we're not going to stay here. I don't know about you, but I just remember when we first started talking about COVID and how it was going to be 2 years of isolation.
Right.
And I remember thinking at that point, there is no way I can get through this and come out sane. That's just, obviously, you give me a microphone, I like to talk, right? I can't be apart from people, especially people I love. And yet here we all are. Not everybody made it through, I know that. But most of us are here. And from that experience, I'm a little more trusting of being able to connect with people over technology, right? I'm also a little more knowledgeable about technology. In other words, something came of it. So something will come too from all of this. From the disruption, from the anger, from the tipping point we seem to be at in our nation. Something will come out of this because we will rebuild. And in my experience, when something is rebuilt, we have the opportunity to create something new that suits us now. Up until now, we've just been piling on to what was already there, and the system in some ways was broken to begin with. So we've made it better, and we've made adjustments, and we've added on an annex over here, and we have a new road over there. But the truth is, if we have to rebuild it, we get to pick. We get to design something that will suit this world the way we are now. And that can be a positive thing. So, as hard as it is, as ugly as it can get, as difficult and heartbreaking as it has been for us, this grief that we are all carrying, even grief shifts and changes form and becomes part of what shapes us and allows us to move forward in a new way. And that can be good.
I love the way that you put that. That just lifts the mind to think of the alternative of something better than we had before, something that works better for us.
And I can't imagine what that looks like right now from here. I can't see it. It's like there's a bend in the road, and I'm not at the bend yet, so I don't know what's around the corner. But because of my intentional practice of knowing that love is still here no matter what things look like, because of tapping into that regularly, I absolutely trust that there is something better around the corner and that we will come through creatively. I look back at history, or even my own history, and think, at the time, I thought that relationship ending was going to end my life, and it turned out to be the best thing because then I met the best person. And, we can all look back and see how things turned out well when even in the moment we didn't think they could. And sometimes, and oftentimes, in a way completely unexpected. So my job is to remind people to stay open. This could show up in ways expected and unexpected. And as long as I'm willing to say yes to that, as long as I'm willing to say I'm open to a greater good, whatever that is. I know I want to feel peaceful. I want to feel love. I want to have joy. I want to find beauty. When I know what I want to feel, and when I know how I want to be, then how it comes to me doesn't really matter, because what will come to me is what I'm looking for.
What will come to me is what I'm looking for.
I can't look for all the ways in which things are broken. I have to look for the ways in which people rise up, the ways in which we inspire each other, the ways in which I can connect with someone. When I focus on that, I already know the need is there. I already know the tragedies happen. What I need to know is that I have something to give. Even if it's one conversation one-on-one, or speaking to many people, or simply planting flowers in my garden for the neighborhoods to enjoy. I am part of what creates a beautiful world, and this is true for everyone.
Yeah. That's a really good thought. Take a pause. I like the pause. When we pause, we can breathe. It allows space. Even in music, there are pauses.
Yes.
In poetry, there are pauses.
Yep.
When you're speaking,
Yeah.
the pause gives weight to the next thing you're going to say.
That's right.
Or the thing you just said.
That's right.
So I think pause is really important here. There are so many important things you said. Was it what the truth is in the moment? Is that what that was? What is true? What is true?
What is true?
What is true is that there is sadness going on, but there's also good going on.
That's right.
We talked about listening. We talked about finding our person to talk to when we need to, not being a victim, not staying there, but actually actively trying to find a way to learn from it and become more and better. And what else? There was one other thing that right before, after pause and after this last little bit that was so, do you remember it?
No.
It's all in there, guys.
It's all in there.
It's all in there.
I think just I think for me, the main piece is to know that I have it within me to find what I need to feel better. And I don't mean that in a simplistic way, but to honestly raise up the energy that I am, whether that's through beauty or nature or music or creativity or whatever it is. And that I have a way of sharing that with the world, whether it's one person at a time or a lot of people in front of a crowd, in how I vote, in how I take care of my neighbor's kids. I mean, I have a gift, and if I know myself, I can offer that gift. I can bring it with me into whatever I'm dealing with.
Bring our gifts with us.
Yeah.
And be ready to get them out.
Yeah. Because you can't run out. You really can't.
That's right.
We feel depleted right now. But the truth is we can't run out of what our essence is. And we, by nature, want to give. We want to help. We want to be supportive. We want to be supported. We want to love and be loved. And there are more people aware of that than there are of people who are acting only out of fear and anger.
So even in this climate of feeling things so big
Yes.
and so impossible
Yes.
to turn over,
Yes.
we can do something
Yes.
by bringing who we are and offering gifts wherever we go.
That's right. And that is the shift for the world. That's the only way shift ever happens. It comes from the individual, multiplied by thousands.
And we just keep passing it on.
Yep.
Keep passing it on.
Right. Every fight we don't have adds to the love in the world. Right? And I think, when we come up against someone who disagrees with us, I heard something recently. Somebody was doing, I don't know if I was going to say it was another podcast, but it was something else. The woman said, we talk about disagreement. Usually a disagreement, you feel like it's me against you, right? The disagreement is we people disagree. Really, it's us looking at the problem, wanting to solve the problem. If you can shift your focus away from making it personal and instead put your energy into looking at the bigger picture or looking at what is it we really want to accomplish here? Something is broken, we want to fix it. We may never agree on how to fix it, but if I can shift to it's the problem that I want to focus on and resolve, it's the solution I'm looking for, it takes that hook out of it to be right or get in someone's face or, push back because you're being pushed. There's always a time to stand strong. But I want my life to be about solution. I want my life to be about resolution. And I want the method to be some form of connection. And so you can disagree with me, but that doesn't mean I'm not connected to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. I think that's a great way to end.
All right.
You can disagree with me, Tracy, but that does not mean I am not connected to you forever.
That's right. Forever. Absolutely.
All right. I
Lucky
love
me.
you. Thank you for coming today.
My pleasure.
Thank you for all those gems. There was a lot.
I'm gonna have to go back and take notes.
I know, me too.
What did I say?
Me too.
Sometimes, I say really smart things.
Every once in a while.
Every once in a while.
Actually, all the time. On a regular basis.
I come from love. It's what you do in your music. There isn't a song you've sung yet that I haven't gone, oh, that's so true. Because it's from the heart. We recognize that in each other. And I mean that in each other, all of us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so look for that.
The authenticity of the heart.
Yeah, look for that.
All right.
All right, thank you.
I love you.
I love you too.
Thank you for all of you viewers for coming. And if you want to find out more about Tracy and Claremont Center for Spiritual Living, we will leave ClaremontCSL.org up there for you, or you can just write it down. All right. Have a great day. Thanks.
Thanks.